Technology is the most powerful change in the world of education.
Everything changes.
Welcome to the Emerging Technologies in Education podcast, delivered to you by Clever Books Company.
Dear listeners, welcome to the Emerging Technologies in Education podcast series. And I have Shelly today. Hi, Shelly. How are you?
Good. It's so nice to be able to connect with you this way.
Perfect. So, Shelly, I want to give you the word to introduce yourself, tell what you do in life, and where you live, or anything you want listeners to know about yourself.
Well, I'm currently, so I've been in the field of education since '96, and I've been using, technology and integrating technology for quite a while. I was first introduced to it with my students. I'm also teacher trainer, an instructional designer. I've traveled all over the world, probably over 20 countries face-to-face, and trained teachers and learners, taught learners in different countries. And usually it's as an ESL Specialist for the U.S. Embassy in Georgetown University. But currently I am located in Texas, and I am teaching freshman English here, and then I'll be teaching high school English as an adjunct professor. As an adjunct professor, I'm working right now. But so I am in the classroom, and I do also traveling and speaking and consulting. And most importantly, I am a brand new mother, so that's to the equation as well. Oh, and then the author of 4 books.
This is amazing. Brand new mom, teacher, traveling, speaker, amazing experience here. And now I'm going to ask you the tricky question. How do you feel about using technology in the classroom? Is it positive, negative, and why?
Well, I think that's a really important question. That's something that I've definitely given a lot more consideration because I have a daughter. And I think for me, it's not that, anything about technology is, I think it's a must because it's all around us. And even with my daughter, and I've, read a lot of studies and research just when I am using different technologies with her, because during my trainings, I do use an iPad. We have a lot of technology here, the wearables. I have a lot of different mobile devices. And so we have the Alexa, the OK Google, and soon the Apple Pod. So we're very much a technology-oriented house here. I think it's really important for teachers to realize is that it's not something that we can put our students in a little bubble and they're never going to use it. And in this world, it doesn't matter where they come from. And I've taught in really poor countries, students still have access to some kind of technology. And a lot of times they're going to have access to the internet. And for that reason, it's really important to be able to start looking at ways to really help them use that access to be able to do great and profound things. And so that's the way I feel about it.
Well, this is amazing. You mentioned that you have at school some technology. Maybe you can tell me a little bit more about that, so just to understand what you have out there.
So in my university right now, it's pretty basic. We do allow our students to have access to the internet. So we do provide them free internet at the school. And I used to assume that a lot of my students, they would be able to go and they would be able to complete assignments and tasks at home. But I've actually had a few students who have no internet at the house. And last year, I worked a lot in Venezuela. And some of my students did not even have, they didn't have smartphones, they had basic cell phones, but they still wanted to be able to use technology. So we do have, projectors and things like that, but there's a lot you can do, even if you have. I've been in classrooms where the only technology is my one device, my one, iPad or something like that. And we've been able to make it interactive. We've been able to, have it to where they're really engaged. They learn great things, and it really, really just sparks participation and engagement. We do have, an LMS as well. We are connected, so that makes things easier. And LMS is virtual learning management system for those who aren't familiar, but it's just an online site that is protected that allows teachers to grade, but also has other great features. There's a lot of free ones out there too, but there's a lot of good ones out there. And what they do is they usually have discussion forums. Moodle is a popular open source one. I've worked with Moodle a lot, but there's quite a few out there. Schoology at Moodle. I mean, there's just tons of them. Google Classroom, that's a very popular one. And so it just gives a way for students to have access and be able to complete tasks, because because the fact for teachers is that you work with students of mixed abilities. And so when you do have assignments and tasks, some of them need more time, or they want to investigate more, or if they have something very creative, like sometimes I get my students, they just did, this year they made videos, they made infographics, and they wanted to work at those and be able to have the opportunity to work on those at home. And so I think that's really important, to be able to have something like an online class portal, or even like a website or wiki or something to really help them be able to do that.
That's a lot of technology, though. You say that it's limited, because I think that most of it is based actually on the internet, and there are so many possibilities with technology right now that are like mix of free and paid and everything. And also, if you have access to the internet, it's so easy to find something suitable for your specific classroom. So that's well done on that, definitely. I want to dig deeper a little bit in the topic of technologies for education, and maybe you have in mind some of them that you would fancy more than others, and if you can share which are they, maybe some specific tools that you're using to implement them in the teaching and learning process, and any experience you can share on that.
Well, I can share like different technology trends and also different ways to integrate technology. So for example, there's the trend for game-based learning, and then also in addition to that, gamification. And so that's something that I do with my students, where we're able to complete tasks, and instead of giving a grade, like I'll give a digital badge, or or they'll play a game in education, that not necessarily always an educational game, but it does, help them with the topic. Sometimes there are games made just for education, but it's a great way to get them to be able to join together and do different things, and it makes it exciting for them. So instead of them going home and writing a paper or taking a quiz, it gets them to really use some other higher thinking skills to apply the knowledge in a good way. I think also trends like virtual reality, augmented reality are really interesting as well, because so a lot of the learners that I work with, and I know it's because it's the world is changing, and the world is very diverse. And so now that it used to be I taught English as a English as another language. And so with that in mind, I was always working with students and who had a language barrier. And now I don't teach those courses anymore. Using different types of trends, like, for example, using augmented reality or even virtual reality, really does help students. So before, I used to teach a lot of courses, and it was English language learners that I taught. But now I am teaching regular course load or the general course load, and what I see is that I still have a lot of students who really do struggle with literacy. And, my classes, the students are from all over the world. This year I have students from Korea. I have students from Africa. I have students from Mexico, Colombia, Chile. I mean, just many, many different types of cultures in one class coming together. And I've noticed that each year. And so what happens is curriculum that is more culturally based, and this has been a really big issue, and something that I might tackle in my 5th book. But how to bring cultural diversity diversity in the classroom, how to have where we can teach each other. And I think that virtual reality and augmented reality are very powerful in those ways. It also is a great way to be able to bring in the past. So a lot of times we teach things from the 1920s, from, the 1940s, 50s, 70s. And for the kids that we teach today, that can be very, very, very foreign to them. They're not used to the fashions. They don't have that understanding of so much limited technology. They don't understand that there was a time in life or that there was any electricity.
Oh God.
Yeah, so I think it's really important that we're able to transport them in those worlds, and virtual reality and augmented reality introduces them to the past. It's like a time portal in a way, and I've seen it used in really great, cool ways to be able to do that. The other part that I really like is that you're able to encourage students to be more active and also move around. And I think that's really important in the classroom. Too many times students sit for a very long time, and that can contribute to classroom behavior. And so students need to be able to have those moments where, a lot of those moments where they're being motivated to move around, explore, have curiosity. And that's what a lot of scientists do. Scientists don't sit down all the time. They're experimenting, they're doing field research, they're walking around. And so with virtual reality and augmented reality, they can go outside. I mean, we've seen that with Pokemon Go, and it encouraged the whole entire, just generation to walk around parks and places outside and get out of their homes and not watch TV all the time or play video games inside, all the time, but actually do something very interactive and in search. And it was very exciting for them. So I think technologies which get students to be active, to introduce them to teachers. Video conferencing does that as well. You can Skype, or you can Zoom, or you can hang out with another classroom around the world and collaborate and learn about each other. I think all of those, technology, using that in those ways can really get students to do great things.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. And you're so right, because you mentioned they're anyway in front of TV. Or my point is they're definitely using the mobile devices all the time. And if we're talking about them using mobile devices in general, then I think it's so much important to at least have quality time with that.
I agree.
Yeah, so I think that's one of the kind of vital things here. So also, I wanted to ask you, because you gave so many examples of how to use the technology, how to implement, how to do the quality things with kids, and even travel somewhere. So many things could be done. But many teachers are still, I'm totally on your side with that, but many teachers still are a bit scared or uncertain or not sure if they want to use the technology in the classroom in general. How do you approach them and encourage them to do that? Because the reason could be different. They see that kids are digital native, and they understand at the back of their mind that they are digital immigrants, and they are scared to fail in front of the kids who may know which button to press way ahead from what they are kind of trying to understand that. So how would you encourage people of this kind to start using technology in the classroom?
Well, I often, I've been to over 20 country training. A lot of the teachers I sometimes meet will be very, I go there to train for integrating technology. So a lot of times, yes, it does take convincing. And what it is it's just trying to ease teachers and get them to get over that fear of, and also show them the possibilities. And so what I tend to do is to get teachers to jump into using that technology and to doing great things with the technology. So if we're going to be using for example, augmented reality or something, or if we're going to use, video conferencing, then the teachers will do that. Or I'll do something similar, like I'll use, if they don't all have a device or something within the training, we'll use QR codes. That's something that actually is part of one of the training that I do a lot. I have a QR code introduction where teachers come in and they scan the different QR codes. They have two different types of QR codes. They have red ones and they have black ones. And when they scan the black ones, they have to find their partner that has a red one that matches, because it's a joke. And then it's the answer to that joke. And I even have a couple of devices laid out so that they can quickly scan that QR code if they don't have that QR code reader on their device. A lot of times teachers do, though. So that's one way. And then they see that it's a joke, and it's a great way. This teachers get to laughing, but they also see, I point out the part of that, first of all, how we've just used technology, even if we didn't have a lot of it, and how things that it got them to do. It got them to meet other peers. It got them to work with them and to ask them questions to try and figure out, which one had their particular answer. That it took context clues. It took them reading, and learning about that question and trying to find so that they would know which answer was the best and most appropriate, because there's about 4 or 5 jokes that are within that bunch. And then we talk about ways to use that and transform that in the classroom. And one way is that, of course, they could do questions and answers. That's going to come up in a standardized test or a regular task, vocabulary and the definition, or sentences, completing the sentences or fill in the blank. So, there's a lot of ways to be able to use that. And then, so I think once teachers get into it, they're more able to be excited about the possibilities. I think a lot of times we just show them so much, and that they're shown so much, and then that doesn't get them dirty. It doesn't allow them to make mistakes. It doesn't allow them, and we need to be able to get them to use technology during the trainings, and sometimes not have a lot of instructions where they have to ask for help, and then that the trainer goes around and facilitates, and we put them in the student's shoes, and then that starts showing them, hey, that wasn't so bad that I didn't know how to use that. It wasn't so bad that I made the mistake. And trust me, with QR codes, I've had some teachers try to take a picture or try to, hit the QR code with the mobile device. They didn't know how to use the QR, and then seeing that and then just walking them through. But if they're not given the opportunity to get over their fears in a more private setting, then it's hard to expect teachers to really want to face making mistakes in front of students. It's just not something that most adults in any field are going to do, especially teachers, because we have built this whole culture that they should know everything. So I think the more that we get them to get, like I like to say, dirty with the technology, or to be using it just like students would, I think that the more open they'll be to using it.
Just the matter here is to start using, try different things. Something may happen and you understand and get it straight away. Some may happen you will not understand straight away, but if you keep on trying yourself in different areas, different technologies and different applications of that technologies, you will definitely succeed, right?
Yes, exactly. And the other part of that is the more mistakes you make, the better, because then that teacher, I always tell them that teacher has this valuable experience, because their students, even though students are very comfortable with technology around them, students are not comfortable with using technology to learn or to create. A lot of my students still tell me, oh my gosh, I didn't know that this was, that you could do this. I didn't know about this technology. And so a lot of my students still are, or they'll tell me, oh, I'm not very computer savvy, and I just think it's really funny that I still hear a lot of students say that. So that teacher has that valuable experience of being able to relate to that student and understand how they got over to understanding and learning. And so they're able to walk and facilitate their students through that.
That's a brilliant point that you actually mentioned right now. And I totally love it when you said that the kids, they know, and students, they know that there is internet out there, applications out there, technology out there, but they not always know that there is some way for using that for education. And I think that's one of the key roles of a teacher, to manage that process and actually advise students that there is some technology out there that you can spend quality time, you can use for education, and you can use for getting to know and learn something.
Exactly. And technology changes all the time. So even though they'll be familiar with certain processes, for example, if you use digital storytelling, they'll be familiar with the process of storyboarding, which is a big thing about different new technologies. But they're always going to have to be learners themselves, because one thing about a world full of technology is that there are tons of different inventions and ways to use that technology every single day. And so students got to prepare for that. So the technologies they use in the classroom are going to be different the way they're used. The platforms are going to change, and we've seen that through our lifetime, and our students are going to see that too. It's not just that technology, going from using technology for us was quite a big step. I always say, like, my grandfather went through seeing black and white TV for the first time in the living room, to seeing a man walk in the moon on that black and white TV, to, before he passed away, getting laser eye surgery and being with his mobile device all the time. And he really enjoyed that. He thought technology was wonderful. And we're Mexican Americans. And so my grandfather came from Mexico, was a migrant worker. And so for us, this was a really big thing, because we were very poor, but it gave us access. And it gave us possibilities, and it meant that we could do great things, like be able to travel around the world and help teachers. So I really do appreciate that. But I think we have to realize that for students, they're going to have to do different experiences with technology. It's always moving. And now we have artificial intelligence, and we have all of these ways that is impacting every single part of our life, and our students are really going to be able to see that. They're going to see possibly technology to get them into space and to live in another world. So I think that's something for us to keep in mind too, that by helping them use technology, it's not that these are going to always be the technologies that they use, but it'll get them familiar with different processes, frameworks, and skills with using that technology.
You're so right, Vic. I totally love this point, and I think that's a brilliant podcast with a lot of information that could be used and implemented tomorrow in the classroom. So we're going to collect all the links that Shelly mentioned and share that with the educators who are hungry to implement something new and exciting in their classroom and get the ideas. I would like to thank you for your time and those fantastic bunch of information shared. And we're going to keep definitely in touch. Thank you so much, Shelly.
Thank you. It was a great conversation.
Everything changes.